Learned this. I was fishing with a group of my friends down at Table Rock Lake about 30 years ago. Into April, first part of May, there were still a few fish on the beds, but most of them were pretty much done spawning. And I was like, fishing the typical stuff you fish that time of year, like Texas rig worms and jigs and, just the post-spawn stuff. Nobody really fishes a crankbait, especially a shad rap, during the spawn. But one of the friends of mine that was from Indiana, he didn't know any better, and he brought a deep little end crankbait, and he started fishing this deep little end crankbait in and around those places where the fish were spawning, and he caught like 20 fish one day doing it. So the only crankbaits I had with me at the time was a shad rap. So I took that shad rap and started doing the same thing that he was describing to me, and just started freaking ripping them. And I fished a tournament the next weekend down there at Table Rock Lake, and it was a buddy tournament, and me and my friend that fished the tournament, we finished second in the tournament with 22 pounds of fish, all on the shad rap in that clear water of Table Rock Lake. So I want to explain to you guys what the deal is here in the video. Okay, first of all, what happens is a lot of these fish, when they get done spawning, the males will stay and they guard the fry around the beds, that type of thing, and the females will pull out. Some of the females will swim completely away from the spawning areas and go out into the main lake and do their whole deal. But another population of those females will just hunker down outside of those bedding areas a little bit deeper. And this is what we were catching with the shad rap. So what I did on this, and the thing that I want you to try here, is take a spinning rod with 6 to 8 pound test line, get into those areas where you think the fish have been spawning, and take this shad rap and throw it a little bit deeper, just parallel the banks, like in 5 to 10 foot of water, and reel this thing with a fast stop and go retrieve. That's the key with it. We figured it out. Actually, we figured it out by accident. I was fishing and not catching much, and I made sort of a bad cast, and I reeled the bait in real fast to make another cast, and one hammered it. So that got me on that whole thing about you had to reel it fast for those non-aggressive post-spawn fish. So we started in the tournament, we just started running nothing but spawn pockets, put the shad rap on, long parallel cast, burning that shad rap, stop and go retrieve down those banks, and freaking smoke them. So it's just a little tip I wanted to share with you guys. You probably haven't heard that before. In general, most of the time, when those fish are spawning or when they're just done spawning, they don't hit moving lures very good. Normally they'll hit like your Ned rigs and your Texas rigs and your shaky heads and wacky rigs, occasionally a top water a little bit later in the post spawn, but I never caught them during the crankbait. But that's something, there's a window where this thing works, and once those fish completely vacate the beds, where there's none left on